Hi everyone, welcome to SynyegaTV with me, Rich Gibbons.
And me, SteveO.
And today we're looking at what is unit economics. So it's a term where, whether you're FinOps or ITAM, you may well have heard it, but now
GreenOps.
and GreenOps as well. Yeah, it's kind of very, very broad reaching. So we're gonna attempt to explain what it is, and I say we. Steve is going to explain to you what unit economics is. So away you go.
Here we go. Right. So I'm going to try to keep this succinct. And yeah, like I said, this can fit ITAM, FinOps, GreenOps. Arguably, if you're looking at it in the FinOps world, you definitely should be considering your licensing and software implications in this. And hopefully that'll make sense as we talk it through. So unit economics is often seen as kind of the nirvana of FinOps. Like, do people ever get there? Is it just a pipe dream? Is it the oasis in the middle of the desert? Which actually I think is also the meaning of Synyega, by the way. It's something to do with an oasis. Random knowledge. So unit economics is taking your cloud usage and cost data and applying it against business metrics. That's what cloud unit economics is. Basically, in general, it's around taking something and applying it to a business metric that's meaningful, and generally a metric that can be classed as a unit. So let's use an example. I used to work in gaming. I used to make online games, right? That's kind of how I started in IT. So I made them as a teenager. And so I had back then a physical server, but the concept remains absolutely suitable for this. So I had a cost of a physical server on a monthly basis, and then I had my amount of gamers that were then coming on and logging onto this physical server, right, to play the game. I could understand my cost by breaking down my two really simple metrics. Or I can understand my model by understanding these two metrics: my cost of the server, and arguably the time to develop and all of that kind of stuff, but let's focus on the cost of the server, and my amount of gamers. So I could look at, as I made a release, whether I was driving more gamers. So one of my things was always looking at kind of the games, but also over time, and as you get bigger and bigger and using more servers and a more complex infrastructure, it's very hard to kind of put that one-to-one and work out whether actually what you've done has improved or worsened it. But if you can then take it back to the amount of gamers or the amount of subscribers, the amount of users, the amount of internal employees for your application, whatever it might be, and apply it to that, you can see that changes over time, whether you are actually improving or worsening your position versus the metric that's important to your business. So for me, it was amount of gamers. So if I went and got a bigger server for my game because people were complaining it was slow and so people were logging out, I've had to invest more money. And we'll talk about this in what is FinOps video, right? I've invested more money, but if that allows more gamers to be on there, and I've actually gone from saying it cost me $100 and I used to be able to have 50 gamers, and now it's costing me $150, but I can have twice as many. I've actually improved my price per gamer and therefore my return, but I've increased my cost as well. But that was a good business decision. Now, it's not always about cost reduction, it's about making the right business decision. And that's what unit economics helps us unlock. And in the, when we're looking at that, we should be including our licensing 100%. That is part of our cost to serve our customers or our internal users, whatever that might be. And on the flip side, you can be looking at the carbon, the CO2e per same metric as well. So you can definitely apply it to GreenOps. And it's just about trying to take all this very complicated data we have and make it meaningful to anyone in the business so they can understand it. So for an engineer, it might be cost per run, cost per deploy. For an exec, it might be cost per customer, whatever it might be, the cost per conversion on a e-commerce website. So you can understand the changes you're making on your website, the infrastructure underneath it, and maybe the way you're marketing is improving your end results. It's really about working out what's good for your business and driving it back to those and informing that with your cost data to understand your profitability and your cost decisions.
Awesome. I like that. So it ties in with as you said, some of the other videos. And I guess, for the ITAM side of things, you could look at it as I suppose like a cost per user.
Absolutely.
All the different software that we've got.
This is the SaaS world. Like applying your SaaS that you've got across different users and trying to work out what your mean cost per user is. And then, one of the great metrics is things about, abandoned licenses per user or, percentage of use per user, that kind of stuff. That is a unit economic, or a unit metric that's really valuable. And when you start putting these things together, you kind of go, do you know what? We're spending, $100 per user. but actually our usage per user, per the license, has actually increased. So we've probably added some more licenses, but they're getting used, so it's a good decision. While, it might look like we've reduced it, but actually we've reduced the ones that people were using, but the ones that weren't being used are still there, whatever it might be. I know that's a bit of a crazy example. You bring these two together, you actually start getting a really good idea of whether you're making good decisions, whether you're making progress.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think it shows that alignment of FinOps, ITAM, GreenOps with business goals and business value.
Yeah.
And I think this is a metric that really, ideally, everyone across the business would be able to understand, and you can kind of talk in the same language.
Yeah, and it should be different for your business because it should be fitting your business or your organization. Don't shoehorn in one you've seen off the internet. Actually, look at what's there. Don't try to cover everything with one metric. That's not going to work either. Think about buckets. Try to make it too complicated. Some things maybe aren't ready for unit economics, but pick the ones that are, that you can make a meaningful difference with now. Prove it out. Start doing it, and start getting some meaningful results from giving people better data.
Perfect. Awesome. I think that is the answer to what is unit economics.
Hopefully.
So thank you everyone who's watching, and thank you, Steve, for that wonderful explanation as always.
Thank you very much.